Okay, so here's the directions sheet that you'll see every single time. I strongly advise skipping this because it's the same thing every time. You're not going to learn anything new from it. The only thing I ever take from this is I might use these references in some of the problems. So, jumping right into problem 1. Okay, if x minus 1 all over 3 is equal to k, and k is equal to 3, what is the value of x? Okay, so this looks like a simple algebra problem, so probably algebra 1 level. What I see here is we have an equation. I know it's an equation because there's an equal sign. The only rule regarding equations is whatever you do to one side, you have to also do to the other in order to maintain the equality. So first things first, they say that k is equal to 3, which means I can just plug that in. So let me do that now. X minus 1 over 3 is equal to 3. Okay, and now I just need to solve this for x. So I need to isolate x. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 3 times 3 times 3. And that will get me x minus 1 is equal to 3 times 3 is 9. And now I have this, and if I add 1 to both sides, I'm going to get x is equal to 10, and that's D. Okay. Question 2. For I is equal to the square root of minus 1, what is the sum of 7 plus 3i plus negative 8 plus 9i? Okay, so don't freak out about this. This is a complex number question. So I, if you're familiar with that, that's the imaginary number, but we're just adding two complex numbers together. You can think of this in terms of any other kind of expression. If we replace I with x, you would know how to solve it. So let me just do that for simplicity. So if we had something like this, then we would know, okay, 7 plus negative 8, so that's minus 1. And then 3x plus 9x, well, that's 12x. And then it's not actually x, it's actually an I. So I got minus 1 plus 12i, that is answer choice A. And hopefully that substitution made sense. I just replaced it with an x to show that algebraically speaking it's equivalent to just adding these two expressions together. The imaginary part, don't freak out about it. So now we're going to come to question 3. On Saturday afternoon, Armand sent M texts. I'm just going to skip ahead. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by Armand and Tyrone on Saturday afternoon? Okay, so that's the actual question. So now I need to figure out how many texts Armand sent and how many Tyrone sent. Armand sent M texts each hour for 5 hours. So if I imagine this way, if this is chronology, so 0 hours, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, and we're saying that he sent M texts within every hour frame, then we end up with 5 M's, so it's 5 times M. For Armand, Tyrone works a similar way, except his is only for 4 hours, and he's sending P every hour, so he's going to end up with 4P, and then both of them together, that's just simple addition, so that's going to give me C. So far so good, I would say. But the beginning part of the SAT questions are always the easier parts, so it's going to get harder as we progress. 4. Kathy is skip ahead to the question. What's the question? What is the meaning of the value 108 in this equation? Okay, so what is the equation? I would figure it would be this. This is the only part that's not text. And that's the most important part, too. So looking at this, I see we have a linear equation. 108 is the y-intercept, negative 23 is the slope. If you imagine this to be in standard notation, so y equals mx plus b, b is the 108, minus 23 is the slope. P would be the y variable, and d would be the x variable. P is the number of phones left, D is the number of days she has worked that week. Okay, and we have to figure out what the meaning of 108 is. So I already said it's the y-intercept, but we kind of have to know what the y-intercept means. So the y-intercept is always, here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis. Wherever a line intersects the y-axis is where the x value is equal to 0. So in this case, x is D, And so D is 0 at the beginning of the week. So let's just read through these. Kathy will complete the repairs within 108 days. I have no idea what that's referring to. Kathy starts each week with 108 phones to fix. Okay, so starting the week. So if we're starting the week, that would mean we're at 0 days complete, which is exactly what we were looking for. The x value is 0, so I would go with B. But let's read C and D really quickly just to make sure. Kathy repairs phones at a rate of 108 per hour. Okay, that really sounds like a slope to me because that is relating the number of phones to time, and the slope always relates the two units of measure, which, if that makes sense. This is a slope value, so that would be no. D, Kathy repairs phones at a rate of 108 per day. Day is just another way of measuring time, so this is again another form of a slope value, so that's also wrong. A is the only other one. This is just not a thing with linear equations. The only things with linear equations are slope and y-intercept, so we're just going to go with B. And then let's do problem 5 next. Okay, so this one's a bit messy, just looking at it. I have this big long expression and then minus another big long expression. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? Okay, so it sounds like they're asking me to simplify this. The only thing to note is that this minus sign is going to be distributed, because this would be the equivalent of saying plus a -1 times, you could rewrite this to be -1 times whatever's on the inside here, and then if we wrote it that way, it becomes obvious that you have to distribute this -1 to all of the terms. So don't forget about that. If there's a minus in front of the parentheses, it has to be distributed to all of the terms. So if I rewrite this with everything distributed, I will get, okay, the first part just remains the same. I haven't changed anything there. But then the second part, all the minuses are going to become pluses, and all the pluses are going to become minuses. Plus 3y squared. Okay, so I end up with this, and then I notice that these are the same, so 1x squared y plus 1x squared y is 2x squared y's, so 2x squared y, and already I can eliminate answer choices A, B, because they don't have those. And then I have a minus 3y squared, I have a plus 3y squared. Those actually cancel each other out. So I have no y squared term, and that actually eliminates answer choice D, because D has a y squared term. So I'm left with C. But just for completion's sake, 5, and I'm going to use squiggly lines for this one. So here's the xy squares. 5 minus 3 is 2, so I'm left with 2xy squares. And that would be C. So now we've found the exact answer choice for C. And then I'm going to do one last problem in this video and then start the next one. So number 6, I have an equation. I notice immediately this is a linear equation. This is in the form y equals mx plus b. So in this case, the slope is 3, the y-intercept is 28.6. Okay, so that's the equation. I'm not even going to read this. I'm just going to jump to the question. Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year? Okay, so they're asking, if I were to imagine this, so age, or A stands for age, and then height for age. And then I might as well read this now. So this is the height of a boy for a given age. Yeah, so that's where I got those from. But this is going to be some kind of linear equation. I don't really care what kind. But if I look at the age, let's say age 3 and age 4 or something, then I can see what the estimated increase, the year change is going to be. So looking at it this way, it should become obvious that this is really slope. So the slope is 3, so the answer is going to be A. If we really wanted to go deeper into what happened. That thing went dark. Okay. If we wanted to go deeper into it, we could actually calculate the height at age 3 and age 4. So h at 3 is going to be 3 times 3 plus 28.6. So I just plugged in 3 for its age, or for his age. These are the age of boys. So this would be 9 plus 28.6. I'm not even going to simplify that. Age of 4 is going to be 3 times age, which is 4 in this case, plus 28.6. So this is going to be 12 plus 28.6. And looking at these two, if I were to calculate what we're interested in, the model was the estimated increase. So he went from 9 plus 28.6 up to 12 plus 28.6. So I can just subtract those out and see what happens. 28.6 minus the 9 plus 28.6. So the 28.6s are going to go away, and 12 minus 9 is 3, which is the slope. And so that kind of confirms that it's A. And then we'll start question 7 in the next one.